Hi, society is in trouble, and let me give you a little bit about the analytical perspective about all the fantasies about sex and gender, the loss of credibility in the traditional and mainstream media, the erosion of values of institutions that are supposed to protect us, like World Health Organization, CDC, and so forth, government offices, that are supposed to uphold the truth in the law and the common good for everybody. And then all of these point to a deep psychological ground we call the lack of psychological integrity. And that is a process that's been happening. It didn't happen overnight. The fires in LA, the DEI, virtue signaling, all that stuff. The 3 of the homes I lived in LA in the past burned to the ground, grand pianos, artworks, everything. We had friends who lost everything, and at some point I stopped calling people. But all of these have a psychological ground, and fantasies have effect in the real world. They affect the real world, right? So what does it? Over the last 200 years, like Carl Jung said, thinking is hard. That's why most people judge. Right? Over the last 200 years, we have suffered a hyper-rationalization of the neurotic mind. We over-conceptualize the world, the runaway mind, and we have lost our connection to the unconscious. We have become split, and therefore the work of integration of wholeness is broken apart. So how do we bring back wholeness? How do we integrate the whole self, and stop judging people, and stop neuroticizing everything about the world and everything about ourselves, and reconnect with the source of life? We were able to navigate the environment we live in, before concepts like up and down, before left and right, before fast and slow, far and close. We were able to navigate it efficiently before language. So we are still operating mostly at an unconscious level. Just ask anybody about the requirements for digestion, right? So we have this ground with the Neanderthal man, with our psychic history. And when we disconnect from the most basic instincts and archetypes, we go into these neurotic runaway ideas. So the goal, you may ask, what does it have to do with writing? What does it have to do with the work of the artist, the creative artist? The creative artist, the goal of the creative artists, ever since the time of Joseph Campbell, is when he said, we have 1 foot here, 1 foot in infinity. Right? We bring back the energies of the unconscious, and we are like transducers, and we put him in a certain form. And that's what all the screenwriting books talk about, is just form. What is the right form? But they forget the depth and the essence in you. Creation, one of the problems of the Western mind is the over-reliance on systems and processes, as if systems and processes were going to solve all the problems in the world. And that includes technology and our enchantment with technology. I talk with my technology friends. I was in San Francisco, I worked with startups, I traveled the world as an international agent. I say the solution will not come through technology alone if you ignore the psyche of man. The world lives on a very thin thread, and that's the psyche of man. Behind these technologies, there's also the neurotic human, right? And if you don't integrate the human, and you don't bring a vital human into society, society will fall apart. Technology is a dream. It solves problems, but it doesn't provide a solution. We still have the capacity to destroy the world several times over. We don't find a solution. We're very good at creating problems. We're very hard at finding. We're very inefficient at finding solutions, right? AI is just another, this idea of the clockwork fantasy that we are soulless beings, and we're just a mechanistic, computational thing taken to the extreme. That's the AI. That's why people are afraid AI is going to take our jobs. No, if you outsource your personality like you've done over the last 100 years, 200 years, and you think science is the usurper of the throne of human life, then you say, oh, okay, I'm going to lose everything I have because I have nothing. I've already outsourced my life. So AI is a tool. We take the tool, we take the human psyche, what do you bring in? And then you produce. It's in the third space. It's the encounter between you and matter. The encounter between psyche and matter that produces reality and creativity in all that stuff. So I have no problem with it. Also, the idea that AI will become conscious, also no problem with it. Give me the button and I'll turn it off. No problem. This is another fantasy which shows the profound trivialization of what it means to be human. Right? We're just computational substrate somewhere. It doesn't matter which substrate. This disembodied fantasy. That also there's historical precedents. Marvin Minsky, the Moravec, Hans Moravec, that nightmare of the Moravec transfer. These are all ideas that have populated our runaway mind. So we lost the connection with the ego-self axis. So we're going to go over a lot of archetypes in the program, but the most important for Carl Jung is the self. The self is the archetype that seeks individuation, that seeks wholeness. We lost this connection. So the ego became overinflated, and the ego is finding a place to project that energy. And when the ego is lost, it's projecting energies into other things like a politician, an ideology, a virtue signaling, DEI, all that stuff is just projections of something that was lost. A deeper connection with the ground of being and beauty. We have desacralized the world. The world has lost its sacred qualities. A handshake, a relationship, somebody you meet, a partner, everything has become objectified. We lost sacredness. That loss of contact is very detrimental to human life and to human being and what it means to live a human life. So we have to get back in touch with that. So we have outsourced our creativity to the gods of the economic myth. If I were an alien and I were to land on the planet today, and you were to ask me, what is the most important thing in this society? I will tell you immediately, it's money. You see, the tallest buildings represent the tallest aspirations of a society, and that's money. That's money. No doubt about it. It's more, let's say, prevalent in society. It worries more than any faith you can think of, Catholic faith. It was a time where religion was number one, but now it's just money. Okay? That's so everything has been co-opted by the gods of graphs and charts. So graphs and charts meaning if it goes up, that's the only language they speak. If it goes up, it's good. If it goes down, it's bad. Right? Why does the stock of Nvidia and these stocks that are falling in the US because of this AI that came up in China is bad? Because it's going down. It's bad. Maybe it's good. Who knows? Maybe it's good for human flourishing, for human knowledge, and for human wholeness and integration. A society that seeks integration is a very different society, a society that is outsourced to the economic myth. So the screenwriting activity, we judge people for how much money they made. They sell this screenplay, they didn't sell a screenplay. So that's not the work of the artist. That's the work of the economic myth. And when Hollywood takes over and then attaches itself to some of these fantasies, wokeness, whatever fantasy comes up, and then says, because they're first of all looking at the bottom line. They're not looking at the integrity of the wholeness. They're looking at the bottom line. So the bottom line has to produce what our fantasy wants. And if the graph goes down, then they will abandon whatever idea and say, oh, let's rethink that. The work of the artist is to reconnect. And if you reconnect society, you reconnect soul, you reconnect people. And then there will be a vibrant environment to go back to the cinema, which is the temenos. It's a sacred place, a box, where we go to reflect upon who we are. Right now we're going to reflect on our neuroticism, and we're going to reflect on reruns and replays and rerashes, and the psyche needs variety. If there's no variety in the psyche, society will deteriorate. But the psyche will find a way. So we have the AI tools, all the AI tools. Within a few months, anybody will be able to produce a film from their home, from their computers. In a few months, that's coming very quickly. So my question to you is, who are you? Who is this person? What are you bringing to the world? How are you reconnecting to soul? How are you reconnecting to society to create a vibrant space for human flourishing? That's on you, right? These things are coming. So again, going back to writing, text is subtext is still text. The scene in Annie Hall where he's talking and there's this bubble, and you see the bubble, what he's thinking, that's still conscious. He's still aware of that. The unconscious is unconscious. Unconscious. Okay? Go check my articles on Medium. I'm writing a lot of Medium nowadays. So I just started. But the unconscious is unconscious. We're not aware. Right? And the work of the artist, the work, and we're going to read incredible material from Carl Jung in the program, where you have art that is transcendental, that not even the creator is aware of what he is creating. Something that's just coming out from the depths, and I'm creating and sending these things out into the world. Amazing stuff. So that's the goal, is to revitalize. So a lot of concepts, the individuation is becoming an individual. We're going to talk about in terms of character development. How do you become an individual? What's missing? Where are you at loss? Where are you directing your energies where you shouldn't be directing? There are two places where I found interesting work for Jung, of everything that I studied in the many years I've been in the field. The Maharishi University, that was inspired by David Lynch, right? The great David Lynch just passed away, fantastic. And the Scott Myers, A Protagonist's Journey. He's very aware of some of the Jungian concepts. He still uses it in a little bit of a utilitarian mindset, but it's a great place to start. Go read Scott Myers, is tremendous. So that's one thing. The other thing is the shadow, that we have to recognize the shadow, the problem of evil, the problem of, the shadow is something that you don't admit about yourself. So you project into other people, or you dismiss completely. It can be positive, it can be negative. Maybe you were born to be a poet, and you want to be a poet, and you're working as an accountant all your life, and you, in that shadow aspect of your potential is there, but you never use it, you never recognize it. Maybe you're being evil. And here's the problem of evil. When we demonize other people, when you call everybody else Hitler, because we don't like something about the person, we have a fantasy about the person, we project evil on that person, we say, he's Hitler. And you saw that throughout the media during the last election campaign, which is appalling. For me, it was absolutely appalling. The presence of this neurotic demonization of the other. Instead of talking about policies, about ideas, it's just pure fairy tale stuff. So here's the problem with that. James Hillman, in a beautiful book about, we're going to go over also in the program, the beautiful book about the seed of evil. And I did a lot of study on evil in my postgraduate program. He says we need amplification to extract the features, right? You look at things in the microscope and you say, who's the greatest evil person in the world? Say Hitler. And you go, let's amplify that so we can extract the features. However, the problem is, when we amplify things in that manner, we exempt ourselves from evil. We say, I'm not evil. We forget our little peccadillos that we do every day. To a friend, to a family, that say, you can help a friend make an introduction so he get a career advancement or a job position, and you know he's an engineer, and you meet the top engineer at this firm, you know, oh, he's looking for a job, and you never make the introduction. You insult your family, or you are absent for your family, your wife, whomever. Every day we commit acts of evil. Every day. Every day. But we're not Hitler. That's the problem. You see the problem? That we're not Hitler. So the idea of, it's a very Hollywood idea, amplify everything, explode everything, make everything big, but forget the subtlety of being human. Every moment matters, every scene matters, every interaction matters. Very important. So that's another problem, right? We project evil somewhere else. We project things on other people. We project our personality somewhere else. You know, the watermelon man is a very famous story by Michael Meade, where a man didn't know, said, how do I know who I am? When I wake up the next day, first time he went to the big city, to the big market, and he asked a friend, I'm going to sleep in a room in a hostel with a bunch of people. How do I know who I am when I wake up in the morning? He said, wow. Well, he thought it would make a joke. Just take a watermelon, first thing you buy, take a watermelon, slice a piece, tie it around your ankle. The next morning, when you wake up, you're going to see the person with the watermelon tied around the ankle, that's you. So that's what we live, the watermelon man. We put posters on the wall, degrees, diplomas, we buy a car, a house, and we say, this is my watermelon. This is who I am. Well, but you forget who you really are. So in the screenwriting, writing a project, we're looking beneath the surface level, saying, who is this person? Who is behind the watermelon man? And so we say, well, he works for the government. Oh, he's an authority. He's the president of the health association. Therefore, he must be speaking the truth and we must obey, which is the precondition of the psyche, is submission to authority and fear of punishment. So people in politics use this very well. They are masters at it. So the fact that somebody has formal authority, it doesn't mean that he's whole, he's complete, or he's saying the truth. He's a human. Never forget, as a writer. And nobody escapes the psyche. When the psychological complexes come and have your number, they have your number. You can't escape. So the people who are more evil and prone to authoritarianism, and so they are more vulnerable than people who have a strong psychological ground. How do you recognize a psychological complex? Very easily. You go back to alchemy. You just see where somebody, if you say something, you say a name, it triggers something, and somebody immediately get emotional and cannot even talk, cannot even rationalize it. It's a complex is constellated, right? And these are part of the deep archetypes that we're going to talk about. The archetypes, the archetypal layer of humanity. That archetypal layer are potentials of energy, potentialities of things happening in the world. The archetype of the mother, the lover, the father, the leader. All these archetypes, they exist and pre-exist and predate human, and they get constellated in different forms and shapes depending on where you are at the moment, your state, the cultural state of affairs, the images that come from the archetype. We see the archetypal image. They are constellated in this field of space and time, but the archetypes themselves are timeless. What you can see is the image, you never see the archetype. It's forever unconscious and out of reach, like the distant regions of the universe. So we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff. And we're going to go deep. This is going to be a journey of transformation and changing mainly your attitude about the world and about life. So when you go into the deep writing program and you read through the material and you adapt the yin receptive attitude, the attitude of receptiveness of things, then you're going to see transformation. For me, it was a 3-year journey. For the program, it's going to be about 20 weeks, but I curated some of the most interesting aspects for the screenwriter, but you're going to take it forever.